lot of people have been asking me, hey Josh, you know that's a secret, right? What they haven't been asking me is, hey Josh, will you touch my feet? What they really haven't been asking me is, hey Josh, will you show us how to use the mono function on the Chapman stick? So when I say mono function, I'm actually talking about a little switch on the side of the Chapman stick. Now, in order to understand mono function, you have to understand that the stick, by nature, is a stereo instrument, which means that its output leads to two separate things. Now, you can hear this in the End the Traveler album or some of my playthrough videos when I'm playing and the bass side sounds distinctly different from the treble side, which could include a different tone or the fact that the treble side has effects on it and the bass side does not. So if you think of stereo as coming in through two separate speakers that trigger left and right, then mono is combining those speakers into one speaker right in front of you. And when you run mono on the Chapman stick, you're taking the bass side and running it through the treble signal. So the switch that I'm talking about is right here. And all you have to do is flick it like that. And now everything that's running bass side is going to run through the treble signal, which means that if you're running effects pedals through your treble, your bass is now going to pick those up. So the first thing that you're going to want to do after switching to mono is probably adjust the volume. So you might not be able to see it, but in between two of these knobs, there's a little hole, and inside the hole is a Phillips head screwdriver input. And that is actually the mono volume adjust and will level out your bass side volume based on your treble side. I like to have it so that the bass side is just barely tucked underneath the treble side, basically almost even, but if I were to play a harmony, the treble harmony would stick out on top just a little bit more. But Josh, why would you even use mono in the first place? Well, multiple personality version of myself with a stupid hat and glasses, you might want to use mono for a bunch of reasons. One of which is that you might only have one amp. And if that's the case, then you're going to want to be able to use mono in order to get both the bass and the treble side to be heard. Fun fact, actually, since I've been recording stick science at the DAE, I've only been using one amp in the shooting process. So you've already heard what mono kind of sounds like, whether or not you knew it. Another reason you might want to use mono is the unification of sound. Now, instead of having what sounds like two different instruments playing together, you have what sounds much more like one complete instrument. Another reason that you might want to do mono is to give the bass side some effects, just like you have on the treble side. All of a sudden you can give yourself delay, distortion, phase, anything like that on the bass that you might want. Now I've been exploring mono crossover a lot under the guise of using distortion for the bass and giving myself a very modern kind of 8-string guitar sound. It's really heavy, and I'm able to emulate bands like Animals as Leaders and Periphery and that kind of huge, extended range guitar sound. So when you throw any effect, but specifically distortion onto the bass side, there's a couple of different techniques and ideas that you can really take advantage of. One of which is mixed range tapping. Now, as you saw, mixed range tapping involves both the bass side and the treble side in kind of the same or similar ranges to give a very, intervallic and bouncy sound. You can get a similar concept, though it'll be a little less linear, as in, scalar going, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little more intervallic if you stick entirely to the bass range. Another really cool effect that you can get is really huge chords by strumming. Now remember, the second largest string, if you're in matched reciprocal tuning, will give you a low G, which is below a low B on a 7-string guitar. So, using that, you can create power chords or intervallic chords or anything like that and strum them and get this huge guitar sound. Now to really have these skills mastered, you should be able to switch back and forth between them very freely. Now all I'm really doing is, as I come out of the strum, I'm doing a pop with my finger on a single note, and then going up with tapping. I wind up on my first finger, and then to get back to the strum, while my first finger is down, I actually flick the strings with the rest of my finger. When I use the rest of my fingers to flick the strings, I make sure that my left hand is back in position to hold those chords down. So this is a fairly new technique for me, and I am really enjoying exploring it, especially because, like, kind of by nature, at least a part of me is really into, you know, that heavy stuff, that Periphery Animals as Leaders, 8-string guitar, massive metal sound. And this opens up a ton of new possibilities for me and for the Chapman stick to be able to explore those sounds. Anyway, thanks for watching, and keep exploring.